Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And today I'm with Aaron Humphres, an awesome artist and creator. Now, Aaron, do me a favor and let us all know who you are, what you've done, and where you're coming from.
Basically, I've been drawing years and years, but I've been trying to get published. My first published work was these kids' books, and I can show you um, this one and see, and this was done by Action Lab Comics. They picked me up,
Mhm.
and I can show you a little bit of the interior, but it's all this like to get the glare off it and stuff. And he's an alien wildlife photographer, so he goes around and photographs alien wildlife. And so I went from that, and then those seem to be my published works. I have a second his book out, and I'm coming to the comics. I'm getting there, but through Action Lab. And this, I'll just show you the cover. This is the one that came out just before the quarantine hit. So about 2 weeks before the quarantine hit. Oh, so I'll be promoting this one more after the quarantine's done. But that's some of the stuff there. So very cartoon-based kids books. So I think that's why Action Lab liked them. They're like, oh, they look like comic books, but they're kids books, and we like kids books, and that's where they went. Those are done. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm working on this 12-issue Goblin series. This is issue 1, and I can show you some of the interior. And I'm on issue 8 of the series, and the goal is to finish it this year. So I've been promoting it online and doing stuff of that nature, but I'll be more heavily promoting it once it's done. I'd like to actually put it in comic shops and put it out and bring it out. Some comic shops around here like once a month, like a regular series, like not late, like that's how I'm trying to finish it. So that's pretty much what I've been doing in the comic, and I've been doing comics since I was a kid, but only recently, since I got published by Action Lab, I've been able to have somebody be able to print the copies for me to sell. It's always hard to get copies or whatever and do stuff of that nature. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I write and create. I do everything, but I have some friends around here that do the same thing around Portland.
Now, let me ask you a question. The comic book, is that available through Action Lab as well?
No, that is my own personal thing. It says there's 12 issues. I think a lot of them kind of like you can read it on Webtoons. I'm posting on Webtoons, and once it's done, I'll keep it on Webtoons like a month, and then take it down. I'm just trying to build an audience. And also, my type book kind of talks about philosophy. My minor is philosophy, and it's kind of aimed at a teenage audience. So I was like, let me post it and see what teenagers think. So people have been able to pick up the philosophical ideas. I'm like, okay, cool, then it's working. And then I'll finish posting it as to their preview, and then I'll take it down. So you can read it there, and then it is I just probably have independently think Comics Wellspring is where I get my copies, and I sell them through my store. So the comic books, like all kids' books, is through Action Lab. So that's how.
So you have 2 children's books, and 1
2
comic. All right, cool.
Right.
Now, how did you get in touch with Action Lab? Like, what was the process of you getting involved with them? Did you go to a convention? Did you, send out a solicitation? I mean, how did that work out?
Well, strangely enough, when I had the book, I finished it. It was based off an idea that my friend gave me years and years ago, and I had the book completed. And Action Lab was at one of the Rose City comic conventions about 6 years ago, maybe more than that. And I knew they were there, and I just decided to go to the convention, and I showed him my stuff. But he actually asked, like, "Is this complete?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's all done, ready to print." He's like, "Yeah, send that to us." It's kind of like, we don't have to wait on you. You just give us, and then that's how it went. But yeah, he was, and I think the gentleman still works for Action Lab. But yeah, he was really nice. They do a lot of kids books, so I knew that company. I was targeting them particularly. But I knew they did a lot of comic and kid stuff like that. So yeah. So yeah, it was just basically come up, show my stuff, like the classic way of doing it in the old days. Portfolio, convention, get job.
Gotcha. Now, did you okay, so obviously you did that with the first book. Did he just take both books and say, I'm just going to give me those? Did he do one of those to you, or was it?
Yeah, I sent him in. I after the book was published, I made the second book. I sent it to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, just make a few changes, but yeah, we'll publish it. Yeah, they really seem to like my kids' book. And the one-shot deals. And I think they've been trying to break in, like a lot of comic companies trying to break in more into the kids' book market. They're trying to combine those. And so mine was kind of like a nice gateway. It's like, oh, kids' books, and then we can break that in and stuff. So, yeah. But
I got Alan in the in the chat. He wants to know if he wants you to let us know who Action Lab is.
Action
Just to
Lab
give us a
is
reminder. Yeah, like just to give us a reminder.
Action Lab is a comic company. I'm not sure when they started. They've been around a long time. They do Princess is another big series they do, and then they have like more of an action adult like Zombie Tramp and stuff. Is like their other section, and then they do more of a kids section like kids books like Princess, and they have all sorts. I mean, they're a big, really big in cosmetology. You go in the cosmetology and Action Lab. There's just tons of stuff. And I've always liked the comic because I like Saturday morning cartoon stuff. Growing up in Saturday morning cartoons, and their aim is to try to recreate that feel. And so I naturally always gravitated towards a lot of their work. So yeah.
All right. Now, Aaron, where did you when you first started, looking into like comics and art and that sort of thing? Like, what was your genesis? Like, who were your heroes growing up? Like, who did you really look at and say, wow, that's the guy I want to be? You understand? Or that's the person I want to be, guy, woman, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I mean, who was the one that inspired you to be like, yeah, that's the direction I want to move into or move in?
It's funny. It's kind of weird. That's kind of okay. So I'll tell you the story how I got into it. There's lots of artists that inspired me, and I'm trying to think of some of the earlier ones that really, Mark Silverstreet's old work in the X-Men. He's had much more of a loose style. Like Jim Lee, that was really good. But strangely enough, my big genesis in the comic books was not too personal, but when I was 12, my father passed away. And getting the comics was kind of a way for me to kind of deal with that. It was really after that happened that I really just like found comic books and locked in. And from then on, I just drew. Oh, the old Kevin Eastman and Laird and Ninja Turtles was a huge influence on me. I love the old Ninja Turtles. I still have all their stuff. I think I buy a new version of the comics every few years.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So the other artist that really inspired me was Larry Stroman, who did Alien Legion. He did some X Factor, and that guy is just a monster. I absolutely love that guy's work. And he doesn't do that much. He does some here and there, but yeah. So, and then of course from there, the other guy that really inspired me was Matsumi Shiro, who did Appleseed and Ghost in the Shell. So I got my first X-Men comic, and somebody gave it to me and was like, they gave it to me at a bus stop. Some kid was like, here, you want some comics? And it has an X-Men comic, and I remember reading it, and I was like, superheroes are okay. I was kind of so-so in the superheroes, but when I read this one, it was an issue of Havoc running around. And Havoc went on the Storm and Rogue, but they were like punks. They had all these chains and the mohawk and the spiked hair. And I was like, so these are like heavy metal punk rockers with powers? This is cool. I mean, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And strange enough, that's what I stuck with. I stuck with the X-Men, the New Warrior. I did collect the New Warriors when they came out, and I have stabbed the brand of that. And then it was immediately on the Appleseed, Matsumi Shiro, Alien Legion, and then it was just sci-fi stuff straight on. So I got into superheroes kind of, but it led me into like Ninja Turtles, another one. Ninja Turtles, Alien Legion, which I've actually gone back and hunted down every single Alien Legion I can and stuff. So it's kind of one of those weird segues where I liked a lot. Akira, when I saw Akira as a kid, somebody had a bootleg, and that absolutely just blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. I was just like, this is just amazing. So yeah. So it's kind of weird. It's a mixture between old anime that came over here, superhero comics, and underground comics, all mixed into one. So it wasn't like one genre. I was all over the place.
Gotcha. So now so how do you get from the X-Men, right, and all those weird and wild different things to Miranda, Roscoe, and the Goblins? I mean, how do you mix that up and make that potion to get to that place?
Okay, I'll tell you the story how I got to the Roscoe thing. So the Roscoe, I have a friend named Tom Duffy, who I've known for years, and he draws comics, and he was another fan of Appleseed. That's how we met. He found that I liked Appleseed, the comic. He liked it. We knew no one else that liked it. It was an immediate friendship. Years ago, he decided to write a comic strip for a class. It was for a class assignment. He was going to put some of his friends in the comic strip, and it was supposed to be in space in the far future. And he asked me what I wanted to do, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I could like travel planets and like see aliens, and what if I was photographing alien wildlife? And it's like, okay, I'll make you an alien wildlife photographer. I'm like, And that idea just stuck in my head forever. And it's partly inspired by a book by Wayne Barlow called Expedition, which you can still find. He's a naturalist painter, just concept painting.
Mhm.
And then there, I used to love old cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons of Bugs Bunny, but then a lot of the old classic cartoons. And so I just, no one ever, this idea sat with me. I didn't know what to do with it. And I finally said, you know what? I'm just going to do something with the alien wildlife photography because it seems like such a goofy idea. And it seemed like it'd be so fun to do it. And so I just wrote it like a wildlife journal, like he's keeping a journal, and then each page is a new creature, or whatever. And then the cartoon aspect just totally fit because it's such a weird, goofy idea. The cartoon idea would just work. And then from there, it was really all my children's books are like taking a character, giving them a mundane job like a tour guide, but putting it in a fantasy. So he's a photographer, but he goes into space. So it's your basic. I actually had ideas for like a mailman in space. I mean, just weird, like people in a totally different place. But the cartoon stuff, that style, is all Saturday morning cartoons. That's just all my influence digging into, and then comic strips like Peanuts, all that stuff. But yeah, I like story.
Gotcha. Now, when you were coming up, like, how did you get into like? All right, so you got into comics as a kid. You're reading them. Yeah. Now, the art aspect of it, like, what did you do as far? Did you have any formal training? You self-taught? You know, what books were you looking at? Who are you looking at as far as influences?
It's funny. Jim Lee, some of the superhero, again, Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Laird, big influence, Shiro. But then there was also, we got into naturalist artists who did an anime called Bridgman. And most people who know Bridgman. Yeah. And Bridgman's style was just great. So I went to college. I went to Washington State University and got a degree in fine arts. And then I went out and then did some time learning 3D modeling, some illustration at the Art Institute of Portland, which is no longer around, but I did there. So I've had some formal training, and most of it is just drawing and copying pictures, looking at art and stuff. That's where most of my training came from. Again, like, you had to ink your pictures. So I'm like, I bought myself a sable brush and just went to town and practiced. And almost all the inking I do is with a sable brush, which is becoming a lost art. I've noticed.
Yes.
So,
a lot of people move into digital.
Yeah, definitely. So
we got a question here. Will we ever see more of Roscoe? Saying the kids love it.
Yes, we are. I am planning a sequel to that. So after Godlings, there is a sequel, and I'm working on ideas for that. I'm also working on a 4-issue series aimed at kids, which I'm writing. So I'm writing stuff in the midst of doing the book. That way, I'm one of these guys that once I'm done with the book, I just go straight into the other one. So I have all sorts of stuff. So yes, Roscoe, I do plan on bringing him back. I have other ideas for him, definitely.
All right. Now, you're currently working. You have Godlings on Webtoons, right?
Yeah.
Now, what got you to go to Webtoons? Because I mean, it's it's fairly new. So I mean, I'm just wondering, like why Webtoons as opposed to just doing a webcomic or just one of the other, or like Tapas or something, or just going straight to print.
Exactly. Well, it is print. I did go straight to print, but I wanted to. One of my friends said I kept seeing that people would like, if you want to gain an audience, you should like post it free, get the audience, and then like come in and buy your stuff. And so I was like, I wasn't ever going to post it. But some of my friends were like, well, why don't you just post it online? That way you get people to read it and get it going. Webtoons is not the best place because so many web hosting comics are aimed strictly at anime. So my style doesn't necessarily fit with that audience. But I pretty much just using the website to host my comic and gain some audience. Strangely enough, there's not a lot. And if I've looked, like, are there any online webcomic hosting sites that cater to more just Western sort of like underground comics? And there's not. There's very much, all the ones that I've researched are very skewed towards anime, especially like romantic, romance, anime, that sort of stuff. So if you're doing anything outside that, it usually just kind of sits there and collects dust. But if you do anything in that genre, it just takes off like a bullet on those sites. So basically I'm just abusing the fact that I can host it online and get people to read it somewhat. That's what I'm doing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, listen, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So now, what are your plans to do? I know you. I know you intend on compiling it at some point. Are you planning on going to Kickstarter, Indiegogo? Are you planning to like self distribute? Maybe contact Action Lab. Maybe they can put it out for you, a graphic novel.
Yeah, I did pitch it to Action Lab. They unfortunately passed on. I think it was just a little too different for them.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on am printing it myself. I selling it at conventions and stuff. I like to, again, distribution is always the big problem. Most indie comics distributing how to get it out there. So that's why I would like to go for somebody else. Um, once it's done, I do plan on. I was thinking of doing a Kickstarter for 4 issues at a time, since it's
Mm-hmm.
12, 3 Kickstarters, something of that nature. But it seems like I'm one of these people that if I'm doing like Kickstarting and all the marketing stuff, and then trying to finish the project, one of those things are going to suffer. And
Right.
so I'm like, might as well, if I have the time, let me finish it the way I want it, put all the effort to finish it and market it somewhat online. And then once it's done, then I can market it as, especially being complete, that it's all done. Like if you want to buy this, it's all done, it's complete, and of that nature. And I do want to put it in comic stores. We have some locally important. I do want to ask them, and a few of them have agreed, but I'm just waiting for them to finish. And then I'm going to push it and market it. Go ahead with it.
Gotcha. Now, getting into like, what's your process as far as creating the books? I know you said you like to you know, give your character a situation and make it a little odd, and then you move them forward.
Right.
But what do you do as far as like process? I mean, when you actually write your stories, do you do full scripts? Do you like lay them out for yourselves? Do you do little thumbnails all over the place? Do you little post-it notes like a madman all over the walls? I mean, how do you work that out for yourself?
Strangely, sometimes I write scripts, like since I'm writing a 4 issue series, which I can't talk about now. After Godlings, that writing down as a script. But of course, if I gave the script to a writer, there's all these sort of notes to me that the writer would be like, I don't know what this means. I'm like, I know it's for me. It's just my mental process. As for
Mm,
Godlings, it's really I photocopy a lot of the and this goes into how I do and write it or whatever. So basically, I draw the pages. All the pages are pencil. I didn't ink it. I do
mm,
photocopy to make it dark enough that you could just do pencil. And I wanted it to be rough. That's why it's printed on this. Looks like an old page. I found a book that I used to work at a studio where they distressed the book. They made the book look very old. It was for a commercial. And then
right.
after the commercial, they just kind of tossed it aside. I scanned all those pages and used them as my template. So the whole book is supposed to look like an old tomb that you would open up, like
Mm,
you would find in some fantasy library in some ancient. That's the idea. Inking was too hard of a contrast, so I stuck the pencil. So when I scan the pencils, and then do the color. Once I'm done with the photocopies that I make to scan them, I actually draw my notes and write on the back of the photocopies. So you
mm,
can see all the photocopies that I throw away. I flip them over. I do quick thumbnails and stick figures. I write down all my notes, and then I keep going. So I basically one of those people like reusing stuff as I go along. But most of the time I handwrite it. Typing can work, but handwriting is so much easier. Personal to me, I seem to get my thoughts out easier just doing straight handwriting on my notes and stuff. So,
all right.
but
Now, obviously, you're doing all the work yourself. You're penciling, inking, coloring, doing everything.
yeah, I do it all myself, and I'd like to work with somebody else eventually. I never have. I'm one of these people that I work so long at my stuff that unless I find somebody has the same like, and I'm not going to say this is going to sound mean, same work ethic as me that can keep
Mm,
up with me, fine. But if somebody's writing, then like 2 weeks later, give me something to write or whatever. If you're not giving me something within due time, I'm going to move on to something else.
mm,
I just like that's what I do, and so because I love doing it, so I'm just like, and also especially with Gollings is kind of a personal story to me. So that story in particular is kind of like my own personal take. Whether it succeeds or not, it's just a story I feel like I wanted to tell.
right.
But I love to work. I'm actually collaborating on a story with my friend here soon. I'm going to be coloring his comic,
Got it.
and I can't say any more than that. But I'll be coloring. So I have friends I'm collaborating on. So
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. Now that's the 4 issue limited series.
That's another series. And
That's another
so
series.
limited series is something I'm writing for myself, and it's aimed more. And I'm going to be changing my art style a little bit. I like to
Okay.
change my style a little bit to try to reflect the story. So and just because it's fun. It won't be. I mean, it won't be. You'll be able to tell it's me, but you're gonna make it a little more simple and stuff.
Okay.
And then that will be inked and colored different. My Goblins is a different way of coloring the whole thing. Like if you look at my coloring and art style, my Goblin comics compared to my kids' books, they're different. The kids' books are much more refined. Goblins is meant to be rough because it's supposed to look like old worn pages. So that's the sort of style I was going for.
So we have someone asking. They're saying you're an anime fan. So can you do anime style?
If I sat down and looked at reference, possibly. It's funny because a lot of the anime, like if you look at like old Appleseed, Akira, that does not really look like the anime of today, especially Akira. Does not. And so that was my influence. So if I was like influenced by a lot of the anime today, I'd probably more push towards that influence. But a lot of the older stuff, and especially a lot of the old anime that came over, a lot of it was really different from each other. Like Appleseed looked really different from Akira. And then there were other comics done by Dark Horse that looked really different. And so that to me was like, it's much more homogenized now. But back then it was different. So it would be, I mean, I would think I'd be able to copy if I looked at it. But would I be able to naturally draw it if I was just on my own? Maybe a little bit. You can see the anime influence a little bit in my Goblins by the shape of their heads, their faces, some of the big eyes. So there's a little bit of influence there, but I don't go straight anime. No.
Gotcha. Now, your work. I mean, because the thing is, I haven't seen a lot of it, but what I've seen is obviously it has your stamp on it. So, I mean, was that important for you as an artist to create a style that's yours?
It was, and I intentionally, when I grew up drawing, when I would look at reference for drawings, for poses, or look at other artists, I would intentionally look at the pictures, look at the reference, and then I would put it all away and try to draw from memory. Because if you try to draw from memory, what happened, obviously, what I saw started to creep in, but then my own hand signature as an artist started to creep in and started to mix the two. And I still do that. Every time I draw and I get what I want, I put it away and then I draw it. That way I'm not influenced. And that's what's pushing more my hand signature. I guess my style as an artist. I call it a hand signature style.
Right.
But that's what I've been doing for years. So
gotcha. All right, because it looks very reminiscent to, like, I mean, Mike Mignola, Sam Keith, that sort of thing. When you start thinking about people with their own styles, people would like, exactly. Now, what I've seen of your work looks a little cartoony, but obviously it looks like it can get a little serious as well. So, I mean, with that in mind, like, do you gravitate towards one or the other more frequently or more often?
my Goblins gets a little serious. There's some goofy stuff, but once my Goblins is kind of done, most of the stories I write are going to be more towards action, adventure, and goofy, the lighter side. Right. Definitely, that's more my thing. Goblins was heavily influenced by an anime series called Neon Genesis Evangelion, and when I watched that series years ago, it kind of like I had finished Goblins up to issue 5, and then I saw that series, and then it made such an impact. I'm like, well, what would happen if I changed the ending and wrote like the aftermath, dealing with the aftermath of an event? And so I added this huge series. So that kind of, and it talks a lot about fate versus free will, which is my favorite philosophical argument. And sort of, but it does have that sort of cartoon feel. Some people even said like the cartoon feel doesn't really fit the tone of the book sometimes. And I can kind of agree with that. But I felt the same way when I was Evangelion. You have like this bright anime, and then they're dealing with like hardcore depression, and I'm just like, wait, that doesn't fit. So, and I was kind of thought that was such a weird mix of the two. Right. So yeah, but yeah, that'll be probably my more serious one, and then from then on, it's going to be alien wildlife photographer, goofy adventures, that stuff, and more.
All right, cool. Now, going back to Godlings. Tell me a little about the story. I mean, I'm really interested. Like I've yet to like get in there and read it. I'll be honest, I don't read stuff online. I will probably look forward to picking up that trade though, because that's something that I'm very much into trades. I don't even like picking up single issues. I'm a trade waiter. I wait for them. I got them. I got tons of them. So I mean, tell me a little bit about it. Like hook me.
Okay, so the story is about these three young gods, they're like teenage gods, and they're in their society. You're meant to grow up, train as a god, and be a god. You can be nothing else. It's very dictated. They don't want to be God. They don't want to do what they're told, so they leave. They just simply leave and go from the kingdom of the gods to another planet that they are like controlling. And it's not supposed to be Earth. It's supposed to be in a whole other galaxy or whatever. Through doing that, they kind of end up causing a rebellion back in the realm of the gods, because there's this whole school of gods, young gods that train. This whole school trains young gods that grow up into gods that go off. Those young gods actually end up getting punished for what the three gods did. They end up causing a rebellion. And then there's some other, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say it goes from bad to worse. And then the afterwards is kind of the one god, Boomer, who's my main little god of lightning, which is a guy you would see back there, dealing with the aftermath of some of his ramifications. He made some choices, some stuff happened there, so deals a little bit with loss and PTSD. It's not a typical comic story, and I don't want to say too much. I've actually had some people, when they read to the middle of the story, I've actually upset some people, because I've done some stuff where there's a few characters that I didn't know would be as popular. Some stuff happens. Now it seems like they haven't gone away, but they're still kind of like, well, I'm still kind of miffed you did this, but I'm still going to stick with your story. So yeah, but it was all planned. It was not one of these things like, you know what, just, screw my readers, I'm going to do this. No, it was all planned. This is all planned. So it'll end. And once my book ends, that's it. It's done. So it's very much building up to something.
Okay. Now, before I move on with some more questions of my own questions, I have someone requesting. They say you do awesome Star Wars stuff, and
Yes.
they're requesting that you maybe post, show one. If you have a couple images lying around, maybe you can show.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Good.
Yeah. This is, let me take it out of the little bag. This is one of mine that
nice.
and so when I worked at a studio, my boss wanted to draw a poster of the movies that were coming out from Disney. We didn't have a lot of we were going off early leaked concept art. So there's some stuff in here that I got right, some that I did wrong, but this was the image from that. And so I would draw that one. Let me see. I have. This is my Boba Fett. And so the thing that was I worked at a studio, we had Christmas parties, and we had white elephant. What I would do is, instead of giving gifts, I would draw these pictures and give them away. So there are people out there who got the originals for free at a Christmas gift. And it became such a thing that people would actually hunt my gifts down. They knew what they were, they got them, and they got the gift. Okay, so I see how you are. Not a lot of color stuff. But my style is really, I even do some Transformers. This is for my nephew, so I can show, but this was Bumblebee.
Nice.
So my style is a little different in my pinups and stuff than I do in my comic. In my comic, I try to tone my style down so it more is straight storytelling. I don't want the art to get too much in the way of you reading the book. I'm not sure what else I have, but yeah, that's a lot of my Star Wars. And then I have my Alien versus Predator, which is everyone's favorite. This will be, this is everyone loves that one.
Yeah,
I sell a
that's
lot.
awesome.
So, yeah, but I wonder if that's somebody who actually got some of my Star Wars stuff at the party. So people like, you gave away the originals? I'm like, well, yeah. My nephews have originals of my art too and stuff. I draw stuff for people. Not as much fan art. I usually try to stick close to my own work. That invigorates me. I like fan art. I usually tend more sci-fi. I do some superheroes, but I've never been very good at drawing superheroes. At least I don't feel I have. At least like trying to draw Marvel, DC superheroes. And so if I draw pinups, it's Predator or it's Star Wars or it's these sci-fi things that I like, or fantasy. I draw fantasy stuff too, stuff of that nature. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I find that interesting that you skew a little bit more photorealistic on that type of work. as opposed to your own work, which is a little bit more cartoony. Now, obviously, that's a conscious choice.
Right.
Like, where do you get that from? Like, because I mean, I was expecting you to break out some Star Wars stuff and to be in your style of your crazy and funky, and I'm getting this more realistic looking stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. like why is it, why is it like why go in that direction?
It's funny. I could do more cartoon stuff. When I did Star Wars, I just had fun drawing from reference ideas of that nature. I if I get, I've noticed if I try to do my more realistic stuff in a smaller, like at panels, it can be it can get kind of lost. People have been hard, like I can't really read it. And so I've always been kind of focusing, like if I do my comic, I'm focusing on the story, and the artwork needs to facilitate the story and what's happening, the emotions, the action, the acting. That's what's happening. If I'm doing a one-page picture, then I can just do whatever I want. I could do realistic, cartoon, all of that. I can just go that. And so yeah, I do have, of course, most artists learn how to draw realistically and then break it down and do cartoons. So of course, I learned how to draw more realistic, and then I could do cartoon stuff. But if you ask me what my preference is, it's always cartoon art. I even gravitate towards when I see, like, if I see realistic art, it's pretty cool. Depending, I like cross hatching. That's gonna invigorate me. But if you show me something like Joe Mad or Kira or some sort of cartoon art, oh yeah, that's where I gravitate. That's my first love.
Right.
So yeah, it does throw people. People have looked at my website like, yeah, you have this cartoon stuff, then you have like all this realistic stuff, and then it's like, yeah. I know.
No, that's cool. That's cool. No, I find that's really interesting. Now, being an indie creator yourself, now what are the books, whether they be current or even from the past, like what are the books you look at that you're saying, like, that you enjoy, not even so much that you're influenced by, but like what are the books you enjoy?
Are you talking just independent creator or indie comics or any comic?
All across the board. I mean, it doesn't matter. Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, doesn't matter.
Right now, what I'm really enjoying, some of my favorite work is, Frank Miller. I like the Martha Washington series, which he finished up. I can't remember the artist's name. I don't know why I'm blanking it.
It's Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons, yes, fantastic art. Love that series. I'm very much a person that I don't even really collect comics. One, I don't have room, so I'll buy them online. But I'm the kind of guy that I'll walk into a comic shop and I'll wander around looking for that sort of treasure, that sort of one gem that's going to be like, oh, that's amazing. Recently, I've been getting to a lot of European comics. I read the Valerian series. Okay. Think of what else. There was a comic called Solo, which is about like this anthropomorphic rat. That was really cool. And one called The Quest for the Pine Bird. So I've been kind of, and I do this a lot. Like, so if I go to the library, a lot of my books, like I'll buy comics, but then I'll pick up a ton of comics from the library. And my idea is to pick up as many genres and different comics as possible, because I really how they tell stories, the storytelling, and what are people doing. And that's more like what influences me. But as far as series I did collect the Invincible series. I really like the Invincible. And I'm excited they're making a cartoon. I've heard that they're making a cartoon of it. So some superhero stuff. I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, so I've been going back and rereading her stuff. The shirt, but I have her. I have posters of her around my room, and she's kind of one of the only superheroes I like. I like Captain America. Superheroes are fun, but I like ones that verge on the sort of warrior. So Wonder Woman's more like a warrior, like Conan, because I'm a huge Conan fan. So that stuff's going to incorporate me more. Captain America, just because he fights with a shield and nothing else, I still find that bizarre. Like, any other weapon. No, I don't need any other weapon. Just give me my frisbee, and I'll just kick the crap out of him. Okay. All right, I find that cool. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading. I jump all over the place. As far as indie comics, really enjoying D. Fish's The Wellspring. I'm in the middle of reading that. I've been reading your stuff. I finished the first Oswald, and I really like that. That's really well done.
Thank you.
And then for a lot of times I've been buying digital copies of indie comics, and I do get the physical when I can, but just to check them out, because there's a lot about just, just check out for $2, $4, download them. Read a lot of stuff by Cosmicology. So I do print stuff, and but I'm all over the place. If you ask me, I collect a series. No, I collect whatever at the time and read that.
All right, I got you. Now, oof, all right. Because yeah, I mean, like, because all right, now you worked with Action Lab. Right now, are your books still available from them?
Yes, it's all over. It's I think the Miranda one did make it to stores before Diamond ceased publication due to the COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
they there, and then you can buy some from my store. I have about 10 or 12 in stock. So I have limited stock of both books.
Right.
But usually, of course, you buy them from my store. I sign them for you and
Mm.
everything. But yeah, you can get them. They're available right now.
Okay.
So
Did they come out at the same time, both books?
no, about a year and a half apart, maybe 2 years apart.
Okay.
So
Okay. Now, Roscoe was first, right?
yes, and then the Miranda one was next.
Right. Now, was Action Lab able to get them into like libraries and like that sort of thing?
I think so. I think there's a few libraries. I have a friend that works for our library system and local, and she had a few libraries get them in. I think my Battleground library, which is a library close to us, has it. And I
Mm-hmm.
do know Action Lab did send my books to the New York Book Fair, and
Right.
I'm not. They told me I didn't know much about what happened, but yeah, you can pretty much find my book anywhere and stuff. So it is getting in the library. It is, it's getting in the Barnes and Noble. You can buy it off online at Target and Walmart. So it's kind of everywhere. If you
Mm.
hunt it down, you can buy it from me. But even buying it from the other places all helps,
Oh yeah,
the
of course.
company. It's all towards the company. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. No, the reason I bring it up is because okay, like for me, like
Right.
putting stuff in the library is like far beyond what I'm looking at. I'm looking at just basic comic shops and just delivering stuff personally. So I mean, because the thing is that market is massive. I mean, there's
Oh yeah.
good, uh, there's tens of thousands of libraries in this country.
Oh
If
yeah.
you get if you get a hit on your hands, I mean, you can make a lot of money. So
Yeah. And libraries have been getting huge in graphic novels, especially my libraries around here. You go into it, like they have walls of graphic novels. Yeah,
mm,
young comic books and kids books, and it's funny. I mean, I remember I've read library books for so many years. I still have people like I had a guy come up, my old boss, and he's like, "Where do you get all these books?" And I looked at him like from my library, and it just never dawned on him that he's like a library. I'm like, well, yeah, you could just go read whatever you want. And some people still kind
mm,
of, but once you like discover that like the free source of library, yeah. And then of course anything I like from there, I try to go out and buy and own. But it's a fantastic way just to find new voices. I mean, I found comics that I've never seen in stores. There was
mm.
this really story called Marzi about this lady, this girl who lived in Poland before the communist regime fell. She was a little girl.
Okay.
And she told a story about her childhood, what she remembered childhood living in the communist Poland. It was fantastic. Never seen it in
Mm.
a store, but I saw it at my library. So you can find
Right.
some really interesting things at stuff I've never heard of. Yeah. So,
Mm.
but yeah, and libraries sometimes, if like with your book, I think if you can donate books, you can probably
Right.
just donate your book and a donation and put it in there.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
there's ways of like sneaking it in.
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know how much you know about that end of the distributions chain and publishing.
Yeah.
Is just insane.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because
libraries are yeah, they're a huge resource, and that's why I'm like, if any of my books get in the library, I'm like, yes, by all means, please. It's free, basically publicity. I mean, just think of how many people can read your book over and over, even if they don't go out and buy it. That still builds an audience just by having that book in that collection.
hmm exactly. Now, where can now you have your website. Now, where else can people see your work? I mean,
They
obviously a web.
Yeah, you can see it on Webtoons. I do have a Facebook, Humphreys Illustration. It's my last name.
Mhm.
And then I have a website, Humphreys Illustration, where you can see all of my work, even work I do for clients, which is my illustrator work. And then I have another style of work that I'm still not too sure what to do with this, but it's been inspired by a friend of mine. It's a little more, I'm not going to say risque,
Mhm.
but it's called the Edge of, I think it's called Edge of Tomorrow. I named it, I should remember it. Edge of the Horizon, that's what it was, Edge of the
Mhm.
Horizon. And it's a series of prints where I kind of mix technology with the human body.
Mhm.
Um, and that's on my website. That's not promoted as much on my other places, but it's on there. And then on my Instagram, and my Instagram tag is a little weird. It's my initials, ALH3810, so 3810, and then that you can find most of my stuff. That a lot of those. So Facebook, Instagram, and then Webtoons, and then of course my website, and then my store is basically Humphres Illustration at BigCartel.com. So that's my store. So, and I'm trying to get more there and stuff. I am also involved as an artist with a book coming out from Silverline Comics called Fire Brush, and that's going to be in July. So that's going to be starting very soon. And I am also going to be joining their live streams they do every week on their YouTube channel, Silverline Comics, and they're really great. They're just all these writers and creators that get together and just talk about the craft. It's actually fantastic to listen to. If you're interested in comic craft at all, just comics in general, great resource, and just really, they're really nice people, so they're fun to listen. But yeah, so you'll be hearing more about that. In fact, the person who wrote the book was Cindy Williams, and I think he's scheduled to be interviewed with you very soon. So.
Oh yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I just started this, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it lunatic style. I'm just gonna go every day, at least 4 to 5 times a week. So we'll see.
And that's what every time I've seen people do any YouTube or social media, it's just like constant pressure. And I'm not the best at updating social media. I always forget. I get caught up when I'm doing them. Like, how many days have passed since I've uploaded? Oh, I got to think about that. Oh, upload something. So yeah, I forget too. So I'm not. But the YouTube stuff, and it seems to be, there's so much stuff for independent creators on YouTube, like your channel, Silverline, and there's been other stuff. I think there's one called Draw and Talk.
Oh yeah, Draw and Talk.
Yeah, he's really fun to listen to, and he has some interviews. So yeah. So yeah, it seems like independent comics seems to be getting a surge lately. I don't know. It feels like it.
Yeah, I get. Well, Diamond's not distributing, so Marvel and DC they're off on the sides now. So all we have is indies.
And so hopefully we can just starting to feel that energy. But yeah, it's exciting to see what's going on and stuff. And I saw your channel right away, and of course, so many people that I've seen the comics like D Fish, Weldon. I think Scott Weldon. I need to listen to him. I've done it, so it's really cool just to be able to listen to see the faces behind a lot of these comics that I've read and enjoyed. I'm like, oh, and there's a few others you have coming up. Like I've read their stuff, and now I get to see them too because they don't always show their face. The fact of I usually don't show myself, so only here and a few other places I show my face. I usually just post my work. I don't know what camera.
Yeah, before I started doing interviews, I would just do reviews of books, and it was just my hands. And people would be like, "This guy, he just shows his hands. He doesn't show his face."
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm willing to show my face, but I'm reviewing a book. Why do you need to see my face?
I know. People they talk about that. Like, you want to get your book, you have to be personal. I understand being personal when I'm supporting the artist, but if you're so concerned about my face and not concerned about my book, it seems like you're missing the whole point. Like look at my book. I mean, I want you to see my book or whatever. I don't want you to, see my face in the artist is great, but I'm also, want you to read and enjoy the work I do too. So yeah. I'm the same. I struggle with that. Like, yeah, sure, I'll show you my face, but go read my stuff too. That's the other half of that coin.
Exactly. So we're coming towards the close here. Now I got a few more things to ask you. Now, one thing I want to definitely ask you, is there anything I forgot to ask you that maybe you want to talk about, or anything you want to let everybody know about?
Not that I can think of right now. I think most of the stuff I've talked about was the Fire Brush, Godling's coming out, and then I'm doing more kids' books and stuff. So I have stuff coming down the future. Of course, I'm a little slower being a one-man army like you and some other people. I mean, a little slower, but it gets out there. So I think that's about it for right now. I can't think of much. At least nothing that I can announce officially yet. We'll say that.
Right. So when it comes around, you let me know. We'll bring you back on, and we'll do an announcement again. All right. Now, couple of things. These are 2 questions I just ask everybody. I just get a kick out of asking these 2 questions. So, if you had your druthers, right, and we could pull, it doesn't matter. This artist could be living, dead, doesn't matter. We could pull them out of the ether. You know, if you had your choice of an artist to pick to do a cover for one of your books, who would it be?
That would be Larry Stroman in a nutshell. I love his work beyond belief. It would be Katsuo Otomo, who does Akira. That would be another one that I just, if anything, just to see how he interprets my work, because it's so different. Of course, there's other artists. Wayne Barlow would be another one, just because he's so different and stuff too. But yeah, definitely Larry Stroman. I know. I follow that guy on Facebook. He does such unique art. I've never seen anything like. I just love it. So yeah, number one. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, it's funny. I was at a show that he was at, and I was tabling at the same show, and the show was kind of deadish, and I would walk by his table, and I was like, I am not stopping at this man's table, because if I stop, all he had was originals on his table. I says, and I dropped $400 or $500 for an original. My wife is gonna kill me. You know.
It's the same. I saw him at a convention. He was sitting there drawing, and I remember walking by, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Larry Stroman. And I'm looking around like, does anyone know? Like, no, he's just hanging out there. And I come up, just like you're a huge inspiration to me. He's like, oh, thanks, man. And he was a really nice guy, whatever. Yeah. And unfortunately, at the time, I had like no money. Like all my money was spent to get into the convention and to show my stuff at Action Lab. And but it's one of those things, like just meeting and seeing him was worth it. But yeah, I'm the same way. If there's certain artists I stop by your table, I'm like, yeah, I feel really bad because I want to spend all my money and I may not have money to spend, and then I feel like a jerk, and so I'm just like, I admire you from afar. But if I had money, all your stuff would be mine.
There you go. All right, now here's one. You told me you didn't like to draw superheroes, but we'll go there anyway. If you had the golden ticket. And I'll open it up, even to say independence. We'll open it up a little bit. So if you had the golden ticket, right, and you can go to Marvel or DC or whomever, and you can do any book on any character, what would be that book?
Probably the one I would love to take the biggest crack at would be Judge Dredd. I'm a huge Judge Dredd fan. And drawing, I haven't even drawn him yet, which is my bad. I need to draw him. But drawing Judge Dredd would be, just playing in that universe would be wonderful. That or Conan. I love Conan. Conan comics, fantasy comics. As far as superheroes, the one I would take a crack at, but I don't know how good I would be at it, would be Wonder Woman. Because I just find, of course, if I do Wonder Woman, I would push much more for Greek warrior heritage. That would be much more what I would put. Less superhero, more fighting. Because those are my favorite stories. Because, growing up in Clash of the Titans,
right,
and then you have fighting, Greek gods and monsters, then it's like Wonder Woman does it. I'm like, I'm sold. I mean, come on, that's cool. So those would be Judge Dredd would be one that I would love to take a stab at and draw. I don't know if my style would even remotely fit Judge Dredd, but I would take a stab at it.
I mean, a lot of people have done Judge Dredd. I think you do an awesome Judge Dredd, especially in your style. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, because I would, because it's funny, because like I see your illustrative style and it's good, but I actually prefer your style.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's because it's funny, because I have another friend. He does stuff like that. He'll draw in a more illustrative or like a Marvel DC type style, and then he has his own style. I'm like, dude, do their superheroes in your style. Don't worry about like that. Don't try to draw like John Buscema. It's just John Buscema is John Buscema. Do you? I
would love to, and maybe that's what I might thinking of doing, is actually drawing some superheroes of Judge Dredd strictly in my style, just going for that straight cartoon style that I'm. Because I always love it when I see cartoon versions of superheroes. Anyways, like very animated styles of Wonder Woman or other. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That totally is at my. Yeah.
I mean, Scotty Young has made he's made a career of it.
Yeah, he has. His stuff's fantastic too, especially his Fairyland. I have a whole bunch of his books. But he's a fantastic artist.
Yeah, so. He's actually surprised me. He's turned into an actually really good writer as well.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah. He has. Of course, I'm blanking on the book. He does another book at Image. He is with another artist that he's writing. It's actually very good.
I wonder if that's. Yeah, I don't know what that one is. I know his I Hate Fairyland. I've seen him around. Yeah, it's surprising. Some artists can be. It used to be when Image was around that, the artists couldn't be writers, that the writing wasn't good or whatever. But there's a lot of
Right.
artists, especially in the independents, where they have to be their own writer and artist, and that's a
Hmm.
powerful combination. I mean, Jeff Smith is a classic with Bone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
artist, and I mean, he's fantastic and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a combination.
All right, so Aaron, I think we're at the end of this. Is there anything else you want to tell the fans before we leave?
Um, just I mean, look forward to more of my stuff. Like I said, Goblins is hope. My target is to finish it this year. I have 4.5 more issues to go. That'll be out, and then I do want to start collecting in trades. And I'm looking into doing a big trade. It's 300 pages, so I don't
Hmm.
know. That would be spin me if I did one big trade, but I'd like to develop that option, either a Kickstarter or something, so to make it one big book. At least maybe for me and a few other friends, if I can get it done. But yeah, so there's stuff coming down the pipeline, and eventually, if you live around the Portland area and other areas, I do want to start putting my stuff in the store. Since it's 12 issues, I want to start at the beginning of the year, one year, and go one issue a month. Boom,
Mm.
boom, 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 like a regular comic series. So, but I need to want to make it done. I don't want to be late in my issue. So if it's coming out, no lateness. It's always on time. That's one of the big things for me.
Cool.
So
All right, awesome. So look, Aaron's information will be in my show notes, so you can check them out. So if you like what you heard, and you want me to bring on more creators, hit like, hit subscribe, share out this video, let people know, these things are going on, because these creators, they need your help. I need your help. We all need your help. So thank you, everyone, and I'll be talking to you all soon. And take care.
thank you.
JD out.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Where's it? Hold on, Aaron.